Brought to you by WikiVidi.com. Birmingham pub bombings. The Birmingham pub bombings occurred on the 21st of November 1974, when bombs exploded in two public houses in central Birmingham, England. The explosions killed 21 people and injured 182 others. The Provisional Irish Republican Army has never officially admitted responsibility for the Birmingham pub bombings, but a former senior officer of the organisation confessed to their involvement in 2014, with an admission the Birmingham pub bombings went against everything we, the Provisional Irish Republican Army, claimed to stand for. One of the alleged perpetrators of the bombings, Michael Hayes, stated in 2017 that the intention was never to harm anyone, and that the deaths were caused by an unintentional delay in giving a telephoned warning. 6 Irishmen were arrested within hours of the blasts, and in 1975 sentenced to life imprisonment for the bombings. The men, who became known as the Birmingham Six, maintained their innocence and insisted police had coerced them into signing false confessions through severe physical and psychological abuse. After 16 years in prison and a lengthy campaign, their convictions were declared unsafe and unsatisfactory, and quashed by the Court of Appeal in 1991. The episode is seen as one of the worst miscarriages of justice in British legal history. The Birmingham pub bombings are seen as one of the deadliest acts of the Troubles, and the deadliest act of terrorism to occur in Great Britain between the Second World War and the 2005 London bombings. Background. In 1973, the Provisional IRA extended its campaign to mainland Britain, attacking military and symbolically important targets to both increase pressure on the British government, via popular British opinion, to withdraw from Northern Ireland, and to maintain morale amongst their supporters. By 1974, mainland Britain saw an average of one attack, successful or otherwise, every 3 days. These attacks included 5 explosions which had occurred in Birmingham on the 14th of July, one of which had occurred at the Rotunda. Prior to any attack upon civilian targets, a code of conduct was followed in which the attacker, or attackers, would send an anonymous telephone warning to police, with the caller reciting a confidential code word known only to the Provisional IRA and to police, to indicate the authenticity of the threat. On the 14th of November, James McDade, a 28-year-old UK-based member of the Provisional IRA, was killed in a premature explosion as he attempted to plant a bomb at a telephone exchange and postal sorting office in Coventry. Another man, Raymond McLaughlin, was arrested near the scene. He was charged with unlawfully killing McDade and causing an explosion. The Republican movement in England had planned to bury McDade in Birmingham, with a paramilitary guard of honour. These plans were altered after the British Home Secretary vowed that such a funeral and any associated sympathy marches would be prevented. Councils in the West Midlands chose to ban any processions linked to the death of McDade under the Public Order Act 1936. McDade's body was driven to Birmingham Airport and flown to Ireland on the afternoon of the 21st of November 1974. Initially, his body had been scheduled to be flown to Belfast Airport. However, upon learning that staff at the airport had refused to handle the coffin, McDade's body was instead flown to Dublin. All police leave was cancelled on this date, with an extra 1,300 officers drafted into Birmingham to quell any unrest as the hearse carrying McDade's coffin was driven to the airport. McDade's body was buried in Milltown Cemetery in Belfast on the 23rd of November. According to a senior Provisional IRA figure, tensions within the Birmingham IRA unit were running high over the disrupted funeral arrangements for James McDade. The bombings. In the early evening hours of the 21st of November, at least 3 bombs connected to timing devices were planted inside 2 separate public houses and outside a bank located in and around central Birmingham. It is unknown precisely when these bombs were planted, if official IRA protocol of preceding attacks upon non-military installations, with a 30-minute advance warning to security services was followed, and subsequent eyewitness accounts are accurate. The bombs would have been planted at these locations after 1930 and before 1947. According to testimony delivered at the 1975 trial of the 6 men wrongly convicted of the Birmingham pub bombings, the bomb planted inside the Mulberry Bush was concealed inside either a duffel bag or briefcase, whereas the bomb planted inside the tavern in the town was concealed inside a briefcase or duffel bag and Christmas cracker boxes. The remnants of 2 alarm clocks recovered from the site of each explosion leaves the possibility that 2 bombs had been planted at each public house. The explosion crater at each location indicates that if 2 bombs had been planted at each public house, they would each have been placed in the same location and likely the same container. Reportedly, those who planted these bombs then walked to a pre-selected phone box to telephone the advance warning to security services. However, the phone box had been vandalized, forcing the caller to find an alternative phone box, and thus shortening the amount of time police had to clear the locations. At 2011, an unknown man with a distinct Irish accent telephoned the Birmingham Post newspaper. The call was answered by an operator named Ian Cropper. This caller said, "There is a bomb planted in the rotunda and there is a bomb in New Street at the tax office. This is XX," before terminating the call. A similar warning was also sent to the Birmingham Evening Mail newspaper, with the anonymous caller again giving the official IRA code word to indicate the authenticity of these threats, but again failing to name the public houses in which the bombs had been planted. Mulberry Bush. The Rotunda is a 25-story office block that housed the Mulberry Bush pub on its lower 2 floors. Within minutes of the warning, police arrived and began checking the upper floors of the Rotunda, but they did not have sufficient time to clear the crowded pub at street level. At 2017, 6 minutes after the first telephone warning had been delivered to the Birmingham Post, the bomb, which had been concealed inside either a duffel bag or briefcase located close to the rear entrance to the premises, exploded, devastating the pub. The explosion blew a crater measuring 40 inches in the concrete floor, collapsing part of the roof, and trapping many casualties beneath girders and concrete blocks. Numerous buildings near the rotunda were also damaged and passers-by in the street were struck by flying glass from shattered windows. Several of the fatalities were killed outright, including 2 youths who had been walking past the premises at the moment of the explosion. 10 people were killed in this explosion and dozens were injured, including many who would lose 1 or more limbs. Several casualties had been impaled by sections of wooden furniture, others had their clothes burned from their bodies. A paramedic call to the scene of this explosion would later describe the carnage as being reminiscent of a slaughterhouse, whereas one fireman would state that, upon seeing a writhing, screaming torso, he had begged police to allow a television crew inside the premises to film the dead and dying at the scene, in the hope the IRA would see the consequences of their actions. However, the police refused this request, fearing the reprisals would be extreme. One of those injured was a 21-year-old woman named Maureen Carlin, who had such extensive shrapnel wounds to her stomach and bowels she told her fiancé, Ian Lord, "If I die, just remember I love you." Carlin was given the last rites, with surgeons initially doubtful she would live. She recovered from her injuries. Thank you for watching. Brought to you by WikiVidi.com. Please like and subscribe below. Please like and subscribe below.